Say
Did you
something?
lose did you lose audio?
Good morning and welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. I'm Dana Dubois.
I'm Lawrence Winterman. Dana, can you hear me?
Guess who can't hear you, Lawrence, as soon as we went live? If anyone out there works at StreamYard and knows what this bug is, I'm going to drop and come back. So, Lawrence, do a little song and dance. Okay, be right back.
Crazy. All right, well, hello everyone. It's me, Lawrence Winterman, and Dana will be back in just a moment. You know how this works. We're having this crazy StreamYard bug where as soon as we do some kind of transition, she loses my audio. And so here she is. Now can you hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Crazy.
I literally will never understand this, but I'm going to do some research today to try to figure it out because
What's
this
really
is maddening.
interesting is it's followed us now from one account to the other because we just set up our own StreamYard account this past week, and we
And
were
it's so
having this exact
weird.
same technical issue on the old StreamYard account that we were sharing with somebody, and so it
And
doesn't make sense.
it's just you and me, Lawrence. Why are
Yes.
we why?
Well, I don't know. I don't know why us.
I don't either,
But
but
hey,
I'm
welcome back. You were gone for a
thank you.
while,
I was
sort
visit
of.
I well, yeah, I was on a secret spy mission to see my family in South Florida. And so that's where I was the last 8
South Florida.
days.
What do you want to go there for?
I didn't want to go there for. It's only because
Yeah.
my family's there. It's really hard because where my mom lives is super fun, which is so weird because my almost 80-year-old mom lives in like party neighborhood. It's
Wait, Delray
amazing.
Beach is like super fun hotspot now?
Oh my God, Lawrence. Like uh, times a zillion. Yes, it's like
Really? That is
amazing
crazy.
restaurants and bars and like people driving like fucking convertible Lamborghinis down the street, like party area.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's about a mile to walk to the beach, which is really nice because you get lazy beach time, but also a little workout on either end of it.
Right, right. A nice mile
Uh,
walk.
yep, so it's great. But then I'm like, I fucking hate this state. I hate everything you stand for.
Truly.
She used to live right by this intersection with a rainbow painted crosswalk, and I always loved it's on the way to the beach, and I always loved walking that crosswalk, and it's gone, painted over.
Thanks, Ron DeSantis.
Thanks, Ron DeSantis. So it is hard, the dissonance, right? The cognitive dissonance of like, oh, I love it here and it's familiar and this is great. And also, I hate it here.
Right.
I don't want to spend money here. I don't want to support this state. It is a strange dissonance, but I tried to focus, of course, on seeing my family, checked in with my dad a couple times. I have an essay in the works about it that, oh my God, Lawrence, it brought up a lot.
Okay. I can't wait to read it. I know one of
Yeah.
your memoir pieces is going to be fantastic and a great read, so I'm very, very excited
Thank,
about that.
thank you. I'm not even sure I can write this one, but
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
trying.
That's
Yeah.
intense. I had an amazing show yesterday with Aiden Wharton, who we talked
Yes.
about open relationships and like kind of an announcement here. I think Aiden is going to be my co-host on Not Straightforward. He's going to be back
I was
next
hoping you
week.
were going to say.
Guests to be determined. But we have such a good time talking to each other, and I think it's kind of a nice balance like you and I have, Dana. And so yeah, Aiden will be joining me as co-host for the duration, and that's a really good thing. I'm very excited about.
I I had a spidey sense that might be coming, and I'm thrilled to hear it. I was in the air as you were on, and you're not supposed to stream, on the weak
Right,
Delta Airlines Wi-Fi, but I caught like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I think, of your show, and it was great. And then it was like, or, that
right,
that that
right.
was gone.
Hey, before we bring on our amazing guest today, Andra Watkins, who we're super,
Yes.
super excited is here, I have one announcement that I want to make,
Okay.
if I may. So,
Sure.
for those of you who might care about politics, haha, which I think is probably most of us, you know that today is
Yes.
the State of the Union.
Yeah.
George, or oh my God, George, Donald Trump, whoever the fuck the president is,
Oh my
That
God.
guy, the orange guy, is giving his
The
speech in
orange
front of
guy.
Congress today for State of the Union, and we're boycotting it. We are boycotting it, and we are watching Defiance.org, which is
Yes.
run by Miles Taylor, is having a counter State of the Union called State of the Swamp. And our friends Cliff Schechter and Ellie Leonard are there in DC, and will be basically like doing alternate commentary. And State of the Swamp has its own stream. You can get the stream for free, or if you make a donation, you can get a bingo card and you can play State of the Union bingo. And so I'm putting the link in the chat, and
Love
you
it.
can use code CLIFF15 to get 15% off if you use that code. And yeah, you should do it. That's what I'm going to be doing tonight. I hope everyone else will come do that as well. It should be a great way to kind of stay in the loop about what's getting said at the State of the Union without having to listen to the dreaded dictator.
Yeah, I cannot listen to his
Right.
voice.
I mean, who can actually
Yeah.
listen to him anymore? I see his face
Right.
on TV and I want to punch my TV.
Yeah. I'm really excited this is happening. This feels like a really good sign that there's like a cohesive group of independent journalists who are pulling this together. It actually sounds like
Yes.
it's going to be a lot of fun. Lawrence, I will admit, I have been loosely keeping up with news, but not as much as I regularly do because I have been on vacation. But I did, of course, see what happened with the women's and the men's hockey teams, and that fucker went to the
Who could
men's
miss it?
team. Was it actually in the locker room? That
Yes.
so it was
Yep.
locker room
Cash
talk.
Patel. Somebody posted a great meme, which was like, leads on, Savannah Guthrie's mother, 0. Arrests in the Epstein case, 0. Director of the FBI, and then it's a picture of Cash Patel chugging a beer in the men's locker room after the U.S. won gold in the hockey match, which, by the way, the hockey match was fucking fantastic. The women's hockey match was fantastic. In both
Yes.
cases, we beat Canada for the gold in overtime. So some nice symmetry there between our U.S. hockey teams, the men's and the women's teams. But the
Right.
men's team then partied it up with Cash Patel in their locker room. So womp womp. And then the Orange Menace invited the men's hockey team to the White House and said he wasn't sure if he was going to invite the women, and the women's hockey team said, "We're not coming."
It's always the women saving things, but yeah,
Right,
and I didn't hear the speech, but I heard he like picked on the women's team,
right.
who are
He did.
also gold medalists
Also
for the
gold
US.
medalists, right?
I
Like
read
if you
eight
are
of the
measuring in
yes,
literal accomplishments of one gold medal at Olympics, literally the equal of the
equals.
men. And in fact, they
And
did it first. So
yes, 8 out of 12 of our gold medals were
are from
women.
women. Yep. Yeah. I feel like this is a great moment to bring in
To bring
Andra.
it, please
We
let's bring
should
Andra in.
introduce Andra to our conversation. Dana, you're usually smart enough to have a bio written, but if you don't, I've got something. Well, Andra, welcome. We
Yeah.
could ask you to introduce yourself to the chat.
Oh my gosh, Andra,
Hello.
you're like
Hello.
a woodland creature. I hear birds.
Yeah, I'm outside. I'm sitting outside the Guggenheim Bilbao in Spain, Bilbao, Spain.
Ah,
Oh my gosh, please
I can
show us because
I
I
can
love
show
that
you.
building. One
So
of Frank Gehry's early masterworks that helped establish him as a modernist architect
yeah,
of international fame.
and
oh my gosh.
there's the river, all of that. So yeah,
So beautiful.
Andra, I have
it's
been a fan of your work for a long time. I'm a little bit like, wow, why is the day Andra coming on the day I'm jet lagged and like it's kind of skidding into the gate here. I'm so thrilled that you were here. I just read your most recent piece and I am like cowering under my desk in fear and also so eager to talk about it with you. But first, will you please introduce yourself as the Spitfire former conservative turned feminist political firebrand that you are?
I'm Andra Watkins. I am a survivor of Christian nationalism. I grew up in South Carolina in the 70s and 80s, and the church and school that I went to was part of Jerry Falwell Sr.'s moral majority movement.
Oh,
So I stayed in that movement in my 20s, got married to my good Christian husband. Like I was supposed to really young, got a divorce, also really young, and started deconstructing from that in my early 30s. I picked up Project 2025 and read it in 2023 and immediately started seeing all of this language from my upbringing buried into this document. I called it a Christo-fascist manifesto to turn the United States into a Christian nationalist, theocratic, theonomic government. And that's what's happening. So I'm here today to talk with y'all about all of that.
Yeah. You know, lately we've kind of been talking about the Cassandra mythology and like what it feels like to be somebody who can see the patterns and see what's coming and connect the dots and say it out loud into a society that is really unwilling to believe it. I wasn't planning for this to be my first question to you, but I guess kind of what comes to me is like, how does it feel to be able to have seen what was coming, to be able to so clearly identify what was going to happen through Project 2025 and now see how far they've gone with it? Like, I'm imagining that's got to have a lot of big emotions that come up inside you.
It's even worse because Andra is like, it's part of my name.
Oh my God, yeah. I didn't even think of that part.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard. And I'm not the only person who was raising this alarm. I'm not the only person who's been talking about this. There are people who've been talking about this and warning about this for a decade or more. On the eve of launching my Substack in 2024, I decided not to do it. I told my husband, this isn't going to make any difference. Nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody ever listens to me. I'm just going to be a Cassandra again. And then I woke up the next morning and I said, I won't be able to live with myself if I don't try.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of us Cassandras have to tell ourselves. I would rather try and fail than have not tried at all. I wouldn't be able to live with myself right now if I hadn't tried. Yeah. So that's how I have to parse it to myself. More people were prepared for this because I tried than if I hadn't.
I'm choking up kind of hearing you say that because it feels really familiar, right? Like I had a similar thing, like election night. I cried. Like I am not ashamed to admit that I was bawling. I was terrified, right? And my family will tell you that my first reaction was like, oh my God, we've got to get out of here. And we kind of had a fight about it. And then, the next day and over the course of the next week, I was like, no, screw it. I'm going to stay and fight. Like, I believe in this country so much that if I have to die to save American democracy, if I've got to put my life on the line, I guess I'm going to do that. It was not what I had planned at all. But here we are. So that really resonates with me. And I appreciate you having the courage to kind of step up and do it because you are making a difference. Your words are making a difference.
Even within the bounds of the show, Lawrence, I feel like we have so what I'm looking for, like a quorum of like amazing women who grew up in these repressive Christian fascist American homes. Yeah. With these we have Stephanie Drury, Melissa Corrigan, Anna Wick, and now Andra. Like, y'all are changing the world. I don't know if you know the women I just named, but you all need to, all of them. Yeah. You all need to just like, can we get everyone out of leadership and put you all in charge? Like, yes. You all have my vote. You are who I want running this world. The women who recognize the patterns, who escaped and have the courage to share what they learned and speak out. Like, we have so much to learn from you.
Yeah, I saw that you had Anna on last week. And so, I mean, she's really great.
Yeah. And Melissa is a regular. And Stephanie, I don't know if you know Stephanie Drury. She's here in Seattle.
Yeah.
She took on Mars Hill back in the day. If you remember Mark Driscoll and Mars Hill, he's continuing to wreak havoc, but not in my hometown, at least, or chosen town. So
So Andrew, your newsletter, for people who don't know, your newsletter on Substack is called For a Time Such as This. I think I've got that right.
For Such a Time as This. It's the King James version from the Book of Esther. translation of that story.
Oh, thank you. I actually, it's interesting. Dana and I grew up Jewish and not particularly Jewish, and so there are things
Jewish.
from the Old Testament, right, from the Hebrew Bible
Yes.
that I know, but not
Uh-huh.
everything.
Uh-huh.
And the New Testament is like a whole other world for me. Stuff I only read about in college. But my point, the question I was going to ask is, you've written like 700 posts at this point. Like you've been pretty prolific. You've got a lot of content up there, and you do a lot of really you do your own research, right? Like you will
Yeah.
dig into a topic and really investigate kind of wherever it takes you. And I'm wondering, just kind of start maybe a little bit on the lighter side, like what's the weirdest rabbit hole that your research has taken you down so far?
Well, I've probably written more about how Christian nationalists feel about pornography than any other thing. And in
Ooh.
Project 2025, they had three sentences about pornography. It should be outlawed. Everybody who produces it, consumes it, should be jailed and prosecuted and labeled registered sex offenders. And that was really all they said about it. And I started screaming at people in 2024. You don't understand that everything is pornography to these people.
Yeah.
And so you're hearing them talk about pornography and say, well, of course we need to protect children from Pornhub and we need to protect ourselves from all of this sick, twisted stuff that's online. And there is a lot of that. But that's not what they're talking about. You know, being homosexual is pornography to them.
Right.
Being transgender is pornography to them.
Right.
Having premarital sex before your wedding day is pornography to them.
Every copy of Vogue magazine
is pornography to them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, you know, I spent a lot of time warning people that so much of our lives that we take for granted would be pornography if these people win. Mm-hmm. What's even funnier about that is I've never seen a real porn film. So I, sit and talk about pornography so much. As I learned it, I mean, growing up in Christian nationalism, I wasn't even allowed to learn about art.
Right.
Because art was all pornography, naked people created by perverts. So, the whole art education, I'm sitting outside of the Guggenheim Bilbao now. My entire art education I got as an adult, starting in my 30s, because I wasn't allowed to learn about it as a kid because it was all pornography.
Sure.
So,
I mean, the Venus, and Michelangelo's David, it's naked people, right? It's pornography.
Yeah. And I told somebody the other day, I put a picture of the David on my Substack or on Blue Sky, and they don't bleep it out. I use the Venus de Milo, and they put an adult content warning on it because she's naked from the waist up.
That's
so
crazy.
It's women's bodies that are pornography.
Yes. Women's nipples are evil. Men's nipples are just nature.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's where I started. I've probably written more newsletters about how Christian nationalists feel about pornography than anything else. Just hammering home to people who haven't been exposed to that world that everything is pornography to these people.
Yeah.
And they feel like they have a right to be in your bedrooms, managing and surveilling your lives over sexual sins, even though they don't want to live by that mentality at all and won't. So, but they have a right to tell us what to do with our lives and bodies.
You're saying everything is pornography, and my brain immediately goes to like the "Everything Is Awesome" song, I think from the Lego Movie, right? But it's the "Everything Is Porno."
Oh my God, that would be a brilliant take on that. If you could get Tegan and Sarah to give permission for the song.
And there should be a great clip like where it flashes to Mike Johnson and his son, right? Who apparently have apps that monitor each other's porn usage. And I'm like, I guess apparently, Andra, according to Project 2025, they would both be jailed as deviants, right?
I mean, if they look at porn, but what's interesting about that is a British journalist at The Guardian downloaded it. And only women's bodies were labeled porn. Naked men with their shirts off. Which,
so, Lawrence, I think that means you don't watch any porn, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know. The men's bodies that I watch are doing things that I'm pretty sure get counted as porn.
I sure hope so.
Adult consenting men, I should point out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I dug into this far later than you did, Andra, because after the election in 2024, because I run a publication for parents of gender nonconforming kids called Pink Hair and Pronouns. And I thought, do I need to take all of this down? What's going to happen if this remains up there? And if anything that's written about gender ideology, anything beyond there are two genders, there are men and women, and that's it, is considered porn. And it does say, in case anyone's doubting it, that that is porn, and porn is punishable by imprisonment.
Mm-hmm. And they mean
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
for the people here who maybe haven't been exposed to this world, my husband grew up Catholic and not crazy Catholic. So,
Right.
you know, he was one of these people who thought these crazy Christian people don't exist, that this doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then he met me and met my parents and was like, holy shit, these people exist.
Right.
So one of the things that you have to take away from any conversation about Christian nationalists is how much credence they put into Genesis 1 in the beginning of Genesis, Adam and Eve. You know, there's only male and female because God only created male and female. You know, this is absolutely, and male and female were supposed to mate and proliferate and replenish the earth. And so, you know, they really take all of these beliefs from that part of the Bible. They go back that far and they believe those things. And they're legislating now our laws to be written from Genesis 1.
Wow.
Yeah, that one I know. Very little Bible study here, but that one I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
It's if we can shift, because the story that's top of mind is your latest one. I saw that you posted a story early today, and I'm opening here. This letter is for U.S. women, is what it's called.
Yeah.
And I messaged you right after and said, be right back. I'm hiding under my desk. I'm not sure I can come out for the live today after reading this. This is a lot of this is information we've heard, but the way that you have compiled it and made this narrative around, y'all, it's go time. And I love the subhead because you in danger, girl.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the link in the chat here. What motivated you to write this now? And can you walk our audience through some of the top level scary points you've put in here?
I have been breaking down the Heritage Foundation's Saving America by Saving the Family for about 3 weeks now. It's a 168-page document that they put out to be a roadmap for the next 250 years of the United States.
Good God.
And so a lot of people have talked about it, but they just hit the highlights. And it's easy to say, well, they'll never create these marriage camps where people are forced to get married at the end when they're 18. That won't happen. They won't ever. So I don't want to just pull out the sensational things and talk about them. I go through and pick through the language they're using and what's Christian nationalist about it, what's coded that you don't even realize is Christian nationalist. So I've been spending a lot of time on that document. And I took a break.
Thank you for your service
today because all of the things that have happened over the past week or so, there are just so many things in the news that are horrifying for women. Nick Fuentes saying all women need to go to the gulags and be put in gulags. Even the trad wives need to be put in gulags.
I believe he said, we'll save the good ones.
But all of them need to be put in and we'll decide who can be let out, is what he said.
Right.
You know, the president, as you talked about at the top of the show, demeaning the Canadian or the U.S. women's hockey team for beating Canada and laughing about that with the U.S. men's hockey team. You know, there are two different stories out of Texas about migrant teenage raped pregnant girls being sequestered in Texas and teenage girls being sequestered at Dilley, and we don't know what's happening to them and nobody can see them. And I don't know if you've interviewed Jen Budd, but if you haven't, you should.
We have.
We have.
She's saying they're being raped, they're being sexually assaulted. That's what's happening to these girls. So there was that. There's so many.
Can you go into that story? Sorry, I don't know if I'm familiar with the story you said because I missed where you said it was. The teenage
It's
girls.
at Dilley
Okay.
at Dilley
In
in
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah.
Jess Craven talked about it yesterday.
Mhm.
So there's like a zone where only teenage girls are sequestered and nobody else can see them. And reports are coming. Nobody knows what's happening to them. So Jen Budd, who was in the Border Patrol, is like, these girls are being raped and assaulted. That's what's happening to them.
Right. And made to be pregnant through rape,
Yes.
and then being forced to carry the children to term.
In a state where there's very little reproductive health care now, especially in rural areas, and they can't get an abortion. So, that's horrifying. So I listed 6 or 7 things that have happened just this week that should frighten all of us. And then, tied that to Saving America by Saving the Family, where they want all Americans to get married when they're 18, like right out of high school, but they don't want women to have college degrees. They don't want women to have advanced education. They don't want women to have jobs outside the home. They don't want women to have contraception at all, even the hormonal birth control pill. They want women who are young to be getting pregnant because they're more fertile then and have as many babies as God gives them. Stay home, submit to their husbands, take care of their husbands, their households, and rear children, and take care of the elderly in their families. So that is their vision for women. And they parse it as a duty because, again, Genesis and the Bible and how they interpret the Bible for women to be doing this. So between those two things and all of that happening on the ground in the U.S., I said it's really go time for women and girls who can be pregnant. And I realize not everybody can leave the U.S. I have left the U.S.
That was my next question. Are you living in Spain?
I live some of the time in Spain and some of the time somewhere else. I don't really talk about where I am anymore.
That's smart.
But I don't live in the U.S. And I realize not everybody can leave. And I realize people need to stay and fight. But sometimes hearing somebody say it's go time is the thing that somebody out there needs to hear.
Right.
And so occasionally I will put up things like that for the people who might be saying, in my gut, I know this needs to happen. Because it might push a few of them over into making it happen and it might save their lives. And so that's what today was about. So I gave that push to those people and then gave a bunch of things that women who don't want to leave or can't leave can do to protect themselves. And try to form a community, get the resources they need to avoid being put in a warehouse concentration camp because they look young and fertile and maybe can be raped a lot and forced to have babies, which is one of the things that I'm convinced these warehouses are going to be for.
Oh my God. Andra, I will admit to you, I read the article, and like Dana, I wanted to crawl under my desk after. I was not brave enough to venture into the comments yet, and I'm wondering if you've started to see comments on it, and I know you've posted other content like this. Mm-hmm. Are you ever surprised by the comments that you get? I mean, I ask that as a leading question, knowing that as a woman on the internet, you probably get subjected to a lot of abuse from people, but I'm curious.
One of the reasons that I have paywalls, only paid subscribers can comment, and that has been the way from the beginning. So my comment community is actually really wonderful.
Yeah.
And the comments that I get are really thoughtful. Sometimes people agree with me, sometimes they don't, but everybody's pretty respectful. Trolls do attack me. I have a family member who's a troll that trolls me all the time.
Oh, a family member. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So it's hard, but I, for my mental health, have walled myself off pretty concretely.
Yeah.
To avoid as much of that as possible. It's hard enough to do this work without being constantly attacked. So I've structured it in such a way that I'm not constantly attacked. Being out of the country helps with that. it's hard to dox somebody when you're in a place where your information isn't sold and you can't be put online like that.
Right.
So, you know, I've done a lot to protect myself from that and to be able to keep doing this work. It's still hard. It's still mentally and emotionally difficult.
Yeah.
And Dana,
I was
I'm
gonna-
sure you know that. Lawrence, I'm sure you know that.
Yeah,
It's
I was
not
going
easy
to
to do
ask
this work.
if, you know, given the nature of what you're writing about all the time, you know, you've gone through the process of deconstruction, right? And you wrote really eloquently in one of your posts about, like, learning to be a friend because white Christian nationalism never taught you how to be a friend. And so I'm kind of wondering about, I mean, I'd love to hear about that, but also I'm imagining it must be kind of re-traumatizing to be looking at this stuff all the time, or does it help you to kind of remember what you're fighting against?
It's funny. I mean, anyone who has any kind of trauma will relate. Some things don't bother you at all.
Mm-hmm.
They just roll right off. And it's always surprising what stupid, minuscule sounding thing might be triggering. Every time I see Mike Johnson's face, it's triggering. So he reminds me of every white Christian man I grew up with.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
so
God. For
I
me,
don't-
it's Trump because he looks like my dad and sounds like my dad.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't talk about him and I don't watch him and I don't listen to him at all. But, you know, occasionally it's harder to avoid some of these other people. Last year, I decided to do a whole series because Allie Beth Stuckey said that It Ends With Us was porn. And again, I've screamed at people like what they will call porn. And so I
Yes.
read the book and watched the movie the week that it came out to talk about what would be porn to a Christian nationalist from that story, not realizing that it was about marital abuse. And that happened in my first marriage with my good Christian husband. So I sobbed over that, but you know, and it was so triggering. And I hadn't been triggered by anything like that in 2 decades.
Yeah.
So it's just really hard to know what thing is going to come along and trigger you and to protect yourself from that.
Yeah. How do you protect yourself?
I don't work on the weekends. I allow myself to feel things. I think that's a lot of what American culture in the US has taught us, that feeling things, being emotional, being upset, having strong reactions to things that hurt and sharing those is wrong or taboo. And I don't feel that way. I feel like it's healthy to feel my feelings.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
I let myself do that. I talk to people. I put aside some of my money if I need to see my therapist. You know, I think that kind of help is important, and there's nothing wrong with having that kind of help available when you need it. My husband is very, very supportive of my work and a good sounding board for me, and lets me fall apart when I need to fall apart.
Yeah.
So all of those things are important. You know, I don't have the friend support that a lot of people have. You know, when you walk away from Christian nationalism and that upbringing, and I'm sure other women who've been with you would say the same thing, you walk away from those people. Right. You don't have a lot of the support you had growing up. My mother was a narcissist, so I did not learn how to connect with women. And so as a 50-something-year-old woman, I'm having to learn how to do that and what a healthy friendship with a woman looks like. Thankfully, I have a lot of great female friends now, but I constantly have to work at forming connections, especially with women, because I did not learn how to do that as a child and a teenager. So it's been a really interesting journey out of that world. And I had so many different pieces of it thrown at me: the narcissism, the gaslighting, the cult-like thinking, the abuse. Exactly. So I'm really grateful to be here and doing this work. And I don't take for granted that I fought as hard as I did to get out of it, maybe for a reason, to be useful to someone else who might, again, need to hear you can get out and you can find your people and you can deconstruct from this. And you can have a really great life. I mean, again, let me show you. I'm sitting outside the Guggenheim in Spain. You know,
So
you
jealous
can
of that.
have a really great life. So you don't have to stay there just because every message that you're hearing is that you can't get out.
Yeah.
Andra, I have so many thoughts hitting my head listening to all of this. And the first that I just want to commend you of like, Gen X women are resilient as fuck, and you are like
Yes,
top of the
we
top
are.
of us. Like my all of my hats are off to you. Um, that's an incredible journey, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you've come through the other side and are happy. Strange question, maybe, but do you think it's possible for our country to come through where we are and survive this, or do you think we're too far gone, or are things on too rapid a decline to feel a sense of hope?
There's always reason to hope. Fascists want us to be defeated and not hopeful. So
Mm,
we have to find a reason to be hopeful every day. And every Friday, I ask my subscribers, what gave you hope this week? I always remind people to go out and look for something hopeful every day. The day that when you have a few days in a row where it's like, I feel hopeless, you've got to go dig deeper and find something to be hopeful about. Destroying your hope is part of this regime's goal. So there's always reason to hope that we can come out of the other side of this. Will it look like the United States of America has always looked? Honestly, I hope not. I am not doing what I'm doing to go back to a country where a bunch of white men, rich white men, some of whom thought it was okay to own people, and all of whom thought women were people, wrote a founding document and started this country. You know, I'm not fighting for that. And that's
no.
one reason why it's so hard to get minorities and people of color and so many women, Black women especially, to feel a vision for what fighting for this could be part of.
Yeah.
I'm fighting for all people to have a seat at the table. And if that means that we come out of this and it's only a portion of what the United States looked like before, that's okay with me. I don't care. As long as we form something where all people are equal, and it really means that. And everybody has a seat at the table, and we're all in this together, fighting together to make a better world for all people. That's what I'm fighting for. And I know we can do that. I don't just hope for that. I know we can do that.
Yeah.
Giving you hearts for this. And oh wait, I don't think I have this turned on right now. That they the little trick. I'm not in front of my MacBook, but our friend Mona Doss, senator from the state of Washington, likes to say, if you don't have a seat at the table, then you're for dinner. Like,
Yeah, right. And so
that's kind of what
it's
it feels like right now.
and I mean, I do a lot of posts and started right after the election in 2024 talking about community involvement and community organizing. That is what is going to get us out of this. Boycotting, going local, coming up with alternate supply chains and alternate ways to get around these people, getting away from fascist companies. You know, all of those things are really important, but we have to do that at the local level and know our communities, get out and face to face know our people and organize according to different things that we need in each of our communities. And only we know that based on where we are.
You know, it's making me think because you, in your writing, you talk about Christian nationalism as being like a metastasizing cancer, right?
It is.
And it makes me think, but people do survive cancer, right? Like we can conquer this. You know, it may be hard, and your body might not look the same afterwards, and certainly your spirit is probably not the same because you've gone through something very hard, but people survive, right? And I think somehow like the idea of it being a metastasizing cancer is terrifying, but it's also kind of giving me hope in this moment listening to you talk about it because like it's going to be a hard thing. We know it's going to be a hard thing, and pull on your big boy or your big girl pants and do the hard thing and get it done. We literally have no other choice. I'm trying to make a point there, and I'm not sure what my question is for you, Andrew, other than you're inspiring me through your use of metaphor of cancer. I
Treatable. It just needs to be, the poison needs to be, if you want to carry that through, killed with other poison.
well, yeah, and
Well,
to
Save the
like
and
body.
beat
you
the
know, I
metaphor to
have,
death, the local organizing you're talking about is like the immune system, right? Like that's the
yes,
immune system response is the
yes.
local community pulling together and fighting it off.
Well, and Dr. G, your weirdo friend, I don't know if you've interviewed them,
Oh,
but
we love
they
them.
We love Dr.
have
G, yeah, for sure. She was on
the
Melissa
daisy
Corrigan's show yesterday.
chain. Yeah, they have the daisy chain local organ. I have shared that thing so many times. I'm
Yeah,
having
it's
them
great.
on in a couple of weeks. That it's like should be, I don't want to say the Bible, but the book that you use.
Right. The instruction book.
The instruction manual to organize this way. I mean, they know how to do it, and you can do it specifically for wherever you are.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do to beat
We
these
quote,
people.
I'm sorry, we quote your weirdo friend probably at least once a week when they said, this regime we're living under is just domestic abuse at scale.
Yeah.
And it's got to
And
feel that way.
anybody who has lived through something like that sees it that way, you know. So I'm more resilient probably to that kind of abuse because I've experienced it my whole life, but people who haven't, it's a lot. It's really jarring and it's hard, and I know people are looking around like, what is happening?
Yeah.
If
Right.
they haven't experienced that. So if you're feeling that way and you're disoriented and you're like, I don't understand what's going on, you're a victim of abuse, and you know, that's what's happening to you, and
Mhm.
there are tools available for that to cope with that.
It is hard trying to decide which direction I want to steer this in. I'll say this. It can be hard as someone who didn't grow up with Christian nationalism. It felt it, and part of me still feels like, oh, that's like a weird sect of our country. That's never going to be the dominant like ethos. We're too far beyond that as a people, and it is hard to accept that that's who's steering the ship when day-to-day life, at least here where I live, does not feel like that.
I want everyone
Yeah.
to understand that the PRRI research, who does research into religious movements, 64% of Americans identify as Christian. That is down from 90 something percent in the 1970s. But of
Wow.
that, and 64% of Americans is millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people.
Right.
Yeah.
Of that percent, 10% are hardcore Christian nationalist extremists who would probably die for this. That, in my calculations, was over 20 million people.
Right. Yep.
And 20% of that 64% are Christian nationalist adjacent. So that was upwards of 40 to 50 million people in the United States. So, you know, 70 million people being extremist Christians on some, you know, scale is a lot of people. And even if you don't know any of them, that doesn't mean that those millions and millions of people aren't out there. So learn more about this. I mean, living in somewhere like Seattle, where you don't see this all the time, it's really important to learn more about it. And that's part of what I do on my Substack, and other women that you've had on lately do the same thing to teach you how to recognize these talking points. I decoded a whole Heritage Foundation document for their taking over the school systems and have it available for people so that you can know when you go to a school board meeting or a discussion about this, what their really benign sounding language means in Christian nationalist speak. And you can say, no, this is what that means. I do that all the time for people. Mm-hmm. So it's really important to know how to go to these meetings and say, no, this is really what you're saying. Yeah. And ask questions, leading questions to get them to show they're crazy. It's really important if you live in these areas to be learning that language and learning how to question it.
I would love, I have not seen that particular article, and I would love to see it.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Please
There's a whole booklet that I made that I'll send to you.
Oh
for
my
that
God, I would love
particular.
that.
Yeah,
Thank
me
you.
too.
Here's a question. Where are your male counterparts? Like we were talking about all these amazing women. Do men not do this because they're the assumed power?
Well,
There have
John
to be men.
Pavlovitz does a really good job with
Oh,
it.
Right.
I do love
Tim
him.
Whitaker, right? There's Tim
Tim
Whitaker.
Whitaker does a
Whitaker. Okay.
great job. So there are men who are doing this work also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charlotte Clymer does a good job
She's
talking about
amazing.
being transgender, being a
Yes.
transgender Christian. So there are people across the spectrum who are doing this work. And
Yeah,
and
follow
I try
Charlotte.
to promote all of them because I
Good.
might not be everybody's cup of tea. And
Girls, you're my
somebody
cup of
else
tea
might
today.
be. Somebody else might be. And so I want people to learn from whoever they will learn from. And it might not always be me. So I'm always talking about and trying to support other people who are talking about this in this space.
I've you know, I don't want to take it in a weird direction, but there's a thing
Get
that's
weird.
percolating in my brain that tell me if I'm off base here. Like, is it possible that the whole Epstein debacle that we're seeing now and that is being revealed and that we're living through, like, I'm wondering, is there a connection to this whole Christian nationalist, like, young girl fertility, we must replenish the earth, you know, women
Yes.
are okay.
I'm gonna say yes as well.
Yeah,
I mean, Christian nationalists, hardcore Christian nationalists believe that men have dominion over women.
yeah.
Men have dominion over girls. Doug Wilson, who Anna Wick, who you just had on, has direct experience with, does not believe rape happens. You know, women exist as orifices for men to have sex with and impregnate. And, you know, that is part of a woman's role according to their interpretation of Genesis. So, you know, they don't believe that rape happens if a man decides that he wants a woman. And in a lot of these churches, there's so much sexual abuse of women and children because of this attitude of women exist for this purpose. And when a man says he's sorry, it is the woman or girl's responsibility under God to forgive him. And if she brings it up again, then she is committing the sin he committed. And that is what they teach in a lot of these congregations. And so it's really difficult.
Rage.
Yeah.
That makes me want to gouge eyeballs out with rage. Like that makes me. That's just.
So it's no surprise that they would shrug and say, well, you know, all these billionaires who were raping children don't, you know, don't need to have accountability because in their churches, these churches are run by dictators. These people have been conditioned for 50 years to accept strong men dictators and not question these men. So it's no surprise at all that they would elect a dictator who rapes children and rapes, you know, so that's totally on brand for these people.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, hearing you say it like that, I don't know why I was even questioning if the things were connected. Of course they're connected, right? Like this is literally the patriarchy that we've been soaking in for thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's just we're actually getting to see behind the curtain for maybe the first time in history where almost certainly there have been things like this ongoing throughout the course of our history.
Yeah. I saw Nick. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Well, no, I mean, I just thought, yeah, you're gonna go the Nick Fuentes question route. I'm gonna go the like, are we gonna have a civil war? Like, how do we deprogram 70 million people from thinking that women are not humans who deserve bodily autonomy and voting rights and like?
I will layer the Nick Fuentes quote I was going to say onto that. What did he just say? That women are either mothers, whores, or nuns.
Right.
There's no other role for a woman.
Yeah.
How do you deprogram that?
You know, it's going to take generations to deprogram that. And it's going to take people who have a specialty in deprogramming that.
Yeah.
You know, it took 20 years for me to be programmed to be a white Christian nationalist, and it will take the rest of my life working at myself every day to deprogram that.
Right.
So it's not something that people just say, I'm not going to be this way anymore. It's something
Right.
that you have to work at, that you have to have help doing. And so and you don't just say, well, you're not going to believe those things anymore. That's one of the things that I condemn the left for, because you don't just say, well, you're going to believe this now, and we're going to outlaw this now, and you can't do this now, when these people are going, my Bible says that I have to do these things this way. This is something that's going to take time to deprogram. And that's after we go through whatever we have to go through, which could be a civil war. I mean, we're already having a civil war.
Yeah.
It just looks very different from the last civil war that we had. So, and whether that results in horrors that I don't want to imagine or not have yet to be seen. But we have to have accountability for the people who caused this. No more, we just need to be the bigger people and move on. These people need to be prosecuted. They need to be punished. They need to be put in jail. There need to be significant consequences and costs.
Yes.
For bringing this about in our country. And I don't want to hear anybody standing up afterwards saying, well, we just need to be the bigger people and move on. No, we do not. Punish these people severely, because people need to understand that if they go down this road again, they will pay the same price.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely
We punished
agree.
Trump
like,
after
I love Michelle Obama, but no more. We're going to take the high road. Like, this is, you need to be spanked really hard and put in. You need to be grounded for a generation.
Yeah, not the fun
right?
kind of spanking either.
No.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, if we had punished him for January 6th back in 2020, we wouldn't be here, right? Like,
right. At least a piece of
we
it.
might not be. And, we don't know what would have happened if we had done that. But it's, there have to be consequences. And I'm heartened to see that a lot of people on the left are saying that.
Yeah.
But that's going to make them more determined than ever to not have consequences and not lose power.
Right. And what we're doing is we're setting up, in some ways, like an ongoing future guerrilla war, because there will be pockets of Christian nationalism and right-wing extremism that will exist for generations that will metastasize like cancer and fight back at some point and burst out. Yeah. I'm not saying goodbye to you yet, Andra. I'm just taking a moment to recognize that I feel like yours was the voice that I needed to hear today, and I'm really grateful for the work that you're doing. If everyone in the chat would please go subscribe to Andra, oh God, I'm going to mangle your newsletter again. For times such as this?
For such a time as this.
I did it again.
That King James Version. I grew up with.
Right.
I'll put it in here.
Right. When you say can quote it chapter and verse, literally you can quote it chapter and verse. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I also want to acknowledge Karen Marie Shelton. You are being an awesome moderator today. She's been sharing links throughout and greeting everybody. And you should know that the chat has just been blowing up with hearts for you and support for everything you're saying. I know on your phone it's hard to see the chat go by because it goes so quickly. But
I took my glasses off because they were dark because I'm outside, so I can't see you either.
I have red hair.
I love your red hair.
Dana has red hair.
Always makes me
Lawrence
smile
has a
when I
big
see
beard.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
This is a little silly, and it's kind of like a hard transition from what we've been talking about, which is so important and so serious. But we ask a fun question every time a guest is on our show for the first time. And I'm pretty sure you're Gen X like us, and so I think this is right on target. But because of your upbringing, I'm going to be really curious to hear what your answer is. Dana, do you want to ask our question?
I would love to. We ask everyone on their first visit to the Daily Whatever Show, what you think the ultimate Gen X song is. Think of it like you're watching a movie and this song comes on and you're like, I know right where I am in time.
I was not allowed to go to the movies as a a child or a teenager.
Ugh.
So the first movie that I saw was Ghostbusters when I was 15 in the movie theater. And the Pretty in Pink song, If You Leave, is probably every time I hear that song, even though it's such an earworm and drives me insane, but I always feel like I'm like 16 again when I hear that song.
Yeah.
That's a great answer.
If you
That is a
leave,
really,
yeah.
like, you understood the
OMD.
assignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, those John Hughes movies, I mean, you can't get more Gen X than that, right down to how objectionable a lot of them seem these days
Yeah.
when you go back and watch them, but still you're laughing or loving them because, you can't change what teenage you
Well,
responded to.
and Some Kind of Wonderful was the better movie that he
Oh,
made. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how he wanted it to be, how he wanted
yeah.
Pretty in Pink to really end. And so I loved that movie better than Pretty in Pink. But
I need to
anyway,
go back and
that's
I
my answer.
haven't watched that one since I was a teenager. And I should because I love Eric Stoltz and what was her name? Mary Stuart Masterson. She's the lead.
Yeah,
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 right. Because they forced him to change the ending to Pretty in Pink, right?
yeah.
She was
Because
supposed to end up with Ducky.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And she ended up with Andrew McCarthy, who was a jerk to her.
Right.
Yeah,
Blaine. He was just so milquetoast. He's just like,
yeah,
Andy, I really like you. Blah. Like he's in these like loose, baggy, pale colored shirts. And then there's Ducky, who's all,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah,
charismatic, but also problematic. I watched it. It's really interesting watching those films again with my teens, revisiting them, and they were like, they thought Ducky was really problematic because of how much he's like forcing himself on her and not listening to her no, not sexually, just in terms of
yeah.
invading her space. And um yeah, it's interesting to see what is no longer acceptable from these young women, especially considering the world they're coming into.
Yeah.
Oh, I should mention that Jason Odell, who's not here today, I think he's on he's on a
He's
Star
on a
Trek
Star
cruise.
Trek cruise. Yes.
A regular in our chat and an awesome guy. He pulled together a playlist on Spotify and Apple Music of all the picks of these like Gen X anthems. We really need to make a post about it, Lawrence,
Right. We need
and
to,
share
yeah,
the
definitely
link.
do
Maybe
that.
a note, but I feel like we need like a story that we can like keep on our site of like go check out our Spotify list.
Well, and it
Except
would be such a great, like, I love 80s music and still listen to it. So
yes,
I'm a child of the 80s, teenager of the 80s. So I love
yes.
that, all that
And no
music.
one has given an OMD song. If You Leave is such a good pick.
Yeah. That is such a good one. Andra, this was an amazing conversation. Dana, we're probably doing best friend, uh, telepathic communication. I can't stop imagining a show where Andra and Anna and Melissa and Stephanie are together talking about because you're all such strong voices against Christian
Yes.
nationalism. Honestly, I feel like we need to have a panel show or something
I would
where you
love
I'm
can
to.
in.
all,
I would love to do it anytime.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh. This would be so Thursdays I have started, so Lawrence and I each now have a day that we're kind of curating the Daily Whatever show. On Monday, Lawrence has Not Straightforward, which is queer focused. And on Thursdays, I host Fine Feminist, which is
Mhm.
feminist focused. And I'm like, a fine feminist panel
yeah,
of like, wow, we would have a
We
lot to
should do
say.
it. I'm in. I'm
Oh my
in
gosh.
anytime.
yeah,
If
that's
only
amazing.
Substack would allow a group conversation, I'd put this all in a thread.
I mean, well,
I
that's why
think
we
I
have
have everyone's
StreamYard. We
email.
can do it in StreamYard.
Yeah.
True, true. Oh, I mean just the organization thread, like to message all
Oh,
four
right,
all
yeah,
of us
yeah.
together.
If only
Of
we
the
could,
email.
have more than 2 people in a DM so that we could coordinate. True.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
so weird, but
Andra, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and God, you've honestly changed my life a little today because the way that you've phrased some things has really helped clarify for me. So thank you for that.
Well, thanks for all you do. Your work is amazing, and I'm just so grateful that you reached out to me and had me on. You've got such an illustrious group of people who've been here, and I'm just honored as can be to be one of them.
Well, thank you,
oh
and we will
shucks.
obviously definitely have you back.
Okay.
We
I just
absolutely will.
want to mention one thing again, kind of off topic, but the State of the Union is tonight. If you could please go sign up for the defiance.org alternate State of the Union thing. I'm putting the link in the chat
Yes.
again,
I,
and the code to get 15% off is Cliff15. It will be a fun way to not watch the State of the Union, but still be informed about what Madman is saying. So if everyone could please do that, and please go subscribe to Andra Watkins, who is just incredible. And in preparing for this, Andra, I spent a lot of time with your newsletter and reading a bunch of your articles. You're a great writer. You're a great investigative journalist. Like, you are bringing your A game to Substack, and people would really be remiss to not subscribe and learn from you.
Well, thank you. And I'd love to see all of you over there. So say hi if you heard about me here.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And thanks to everyone in the chat. Go forth and keep fighting, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And enjoy
right.
Spain.
Thanks,
I
everybody.
will.
Oh, yes. Have the best time in Spain.
Okay.
Oh my God. Me encanta España. Have so much fun.
Yo también. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Adios.
Love
Bye.
you, mean it. Bye. Mwah.